December may make the garden appear lifeless, bare branches, frozen ground, and long quiet nights. But beneath the surface, nature is already preparing for the next growing season. Experienced gardeners understand that winter is not the end of gardening, it's the beginning of next year's success. While many people wait until spring to start planting, those who work in December give their plants a valuable head start that often leads to stronger roots, earlier blooms, and healthier growth overall. Cold soil is far from inactive. In fact, many perennial plants benefit tremendously from being planted during winter. Cooler temperatures reduce transplant stress, winter moisture keeps roots hydrated naturally, and the plant can focus all its energy below ground instead of supporting leaves and flowers. This underground development is what creates stronger, more resilient plants later on. In this guide, you'll discover hardy perennials that respond exceptionally well to December planting. These dependable plants reward winter preparation with vigorous spring growth, earlier flowering, and less maintenance once the warmer months arrive. The garden that flourishes next year often begins with the work done now. 1. Hellebores, Lenten Rose. Hellebores are among the few plants capable of bringing life and color to the darkest part of the year. While most perennials remain dormant through snow and frost, hellebores quietly bloom during late winter, making them one of the most treasured plants for cold season gardens. Because of this, they are especially well suited for December planting. Unlike many plants that struggle with winter transplanting, hellebores actually establish better when planted during dormancy. The cool soil minimizes stress, and the roots are able to settle deeply into the ground before spring growth begins. Planting them in December works perfectly with their natural growth cycle and often results in faster establishment and stronger plants overall. These shade-loving perennials thrive in partial to full shade, making them ideal for woodland gardens, shaded borders, beneath trees, or alongside walkways and foundations. Their thick evergreen leaves provide texture and structure throughout the year, even when flowers are absent. When blooming begins in late winter or early spring, the plants produce elegant flowers in shades of white, cream, pale green, pink, plum, and dusty purple. Even after fading, the blooms often remain decorative for weeks. Hellebores prefer rich, well-draining soil with plenty of organic matter. They appreciate consistent moisture but dislike soggy conditions, especially during winter. A layer of mulch helps regulate soil temperature while also protecting roots and conserving moisture. One major advantage of December planting is improved root development. Because the plant isn't wasting energy on active foliage or flowers, it can devote its resources entirely to building a strong underground system. By spring, hellebores planted in winter are often larger, healthier, and more floriferous than those planted later in the year. Another reason gardeners love hellebores is their reliability. They are drought-tolerant once established, resistant to deer, relatively low maintenance, and capable of living for decades. Over time, mature clumps become larger and more impressive each season. For anyone wanting a garden that still feels alive during winter's coldest months, hellebores are indispensable. And December is one of the best times to give them a calm, uninterrupted start. 2. Peonies. If you want dramatic, elegant flowers that become the centerpiece of the garden every spring, peonies are impossible to ignore. These beloved perennials are famous for their huge blooms, rich fragrance, and extraordinary lifespan. And when it comes to planting them successfully, winter is one of the best opportunities. Peonies actually depend on cold temperatures to grow and flower properly. Planting them in December allows the roots to establish during dormancy, while the upper portion of the plant rests quietly underground. During this period, the plant focuses entirely on building a deep and stable root system. This often leads to stronger stems, healthier growth, and much larger blooms once late spring arrives. Winter planting also greatly reduces transplant stress. Cool temperatures and naturally moist soil help the roots settle in comfortably without requiring excessive watering. By the time spring arrives, winter-planted peonies are already established and prepared for active growth, while spring-planted peonies are still struggling to adjust. Peonies grow best in full sun, although light afternoon shade can help in very hot regions. Good drainage is essential because heavy, wet soil can quickly damage the roots during colder months. Gardeners with clay soil often improve drainage by adding compost or planting slightly above ground level. One of the most important details when planting peonies is depth. The small reddish buds, often called eyes, should sit only 1 to 2 inches beneath the soil surface. Planting too deeply is one of the most common reasons peonies fail to bloom. Exposure to winter cold helps trigger proper flowering later on. Once established, peonies are incredibly long-lived plants. Many survive and bloom beautifully for decades, often becoming more impressive each year. Because they dislike being disturbed, choosing the right planting location from the start is extremely important. December planting gives them the stable environment they prefer for long-term success. With only minimal care, peonies reward patience with massive blooms, strong growth, and timeless beauty. Plant them once and they may continue flowering for generations. 3. Black-eyed Susan. Black-eyed Susan is one of those perennials that instantly brings warmth and energy into the garden. With its vivid golden yellow petals and deep dark centers, it creates a bright, cheerful display that lasts through much of the growing season. Planting Black-eyed Susan in December gives the plant a valuable head start, helping it establish itself long before spring arrives. Rudbeckia is naturally hardy and extremely well suited to colder conditions. During winter planting, the plant remains dormant above the soil, while quietly developing a strong root system underneath. This early root growth is incredibly important because it allows the plant to anchor itself deeply before the rapid growth of spring and summer begins. As a result, winter-planted black-eyed Susans are often sturdier, more balanced, and better equipped to support their abundant blooms later in the season. These perennials perform best in full sunlight and well-draining soil, but they are far from demanding plants. One of their greatest strengths is adaptability. During the cool months of winter, the moist soil allows the roots to spread gradually without stress, creating stronger stems and healthier growth once temperatures rise. Planting in December also improves drought resistance. Because the roots are already well established by spring, the plant can handle summer heat and dry weather much more effectively than newly planted specimens. This leads to fuller foliage, stronger flower stalks, and a much more impressive floral display throughout summer. Black-eyed Susan is also incredibly valuable for pollinators. Bees, butterflies, and many beneficial insects depend on its nectar-rich flowers for food over a long blooming period. By planting early, gardeners often encourage earlier flowering and extended bloom time, which directly benefits local ecosystems. Another reason gardeners appreciate Rudbeckia is its low-maintenance nature. Once established, it thrives with minimal care, tolerates occasional neglect, and does not require rich soil or constant watering. Winter planting allows the plant to establish naturally and without stress, setting the stage for healthier growth and longer-lasting performance year after year. 4. Echinacea, coneflower. Echinacea, commonly known as coneflower, is one of the most dependable and resilient perennials a gardener can grow. Known for its striking blooms and exceptional toughness, Echinacea responds especially well to winter planting. Placing it in the ground during December gives the plant time to develop strong roots before active top growth begins in spring. In the wild, Echinacea naturally drops its seeds during autumn and winter, allowing them to rest in cold soil until warmer weather arrives. Planting in December closely follows this natural cycle. The cold conditions encourage gradual root establishment without forcing the plant to immediately support leaves and flowers. Coneflowers thrive in sunny locations with good drainage and are highly tolerant of difficult conditions. Winter-planted Echinacea often develops thicker stems, stronger upright growth, and more reliable flowering compared to plants installed later in the season. The cold period helps create a healthier and more stable foundation below ground. Another major benefit of winter planting is improved resistance to stress and disease. Plants that establish roots during cooler weather are generally stronger and less vulnerable to fungal problems or heat-related stress later in the year. By summer, these coneflowers are already deeply rooted and prepared to handle harsh conditions. Echinacea is also famous for its drought tolerance. Once mature, its deep root system allows it to reach moisture far below the soil surface, reducing the need for regular watering. This makes it an excellent choice for low-maintenance gardens and dry climates. Beyond its ornamental value, Echinacea has long been appreciated for its traditional medicinal uses and immune-supporting properties. Giving it a quiet winter start results in healthier plants, longer-lasting blooms, and a stronger overall garden presence once the growing season begins. 5. Ornamental grasses. Ornamental grasses bring movement, texture, and natural beauty into the landscape, and many varieties benefit greatly from being planted during winter. December is especially ideal for cool season ornamental grasses because it allows them to concentrate entirely on root development without the pressure of supporting rapid top growth. When planted during the colder months, ornamental grasses slowly extend their roots through cool, stable soil conditions. This gradual and uninterrupted establishment creates a strong foundation for spring growth. Instead of struggling to settle in during active growth periods, winter-planted grasses emerge already well anchored and prepared for the season ahead. Proper placement is important for long-term success. Most ornamental grasses prefer well-draining soil because overly wet winter conditions can damage their roots. They also need enough room to spread naturally, as many varieties form large clumps or slowly expand over time. Planting in December provides the opportunity to carefully position them before surrounding plants begin competing for space in spring. Winter planting also improves overall structure and appearance. By the time active growth starts, these grasses already have strong roots capable of supporting taller, fuller, and more upright growth. This results in sturdier stems, denser clumps, and a more dramatic visual effect in the garden. Many ornamental grasses continue providing beauty even during winter dormancy. Their seed heads, soft movement, and changing textures add interest to otherwise quiet landscapes. Planting them in December ensures they are fully prepared to contribute beauty and structure throughout the entire year. Once established, ornamental grasses are remarkably easy to care for. They are drought-tolerant, long-lived, and require very little maintenance. A peaceful winter planting period allows them to mature into resilient, eye-catching focal points that enhance the garden season after season. 6. Ferns. Ferns are often thought of as delicate woodland plants, but many hardy varieties are far more durable than they appear. In fact, winter is one of the best times to plant them. The cool conditions of December encourage steady root growth while keeping foliage dormant, creating the perfect environment for strong establishment. When planted during winter, ferns remain quiet above the soil while their roots gradually spread beneath the surface. This underground development gives them time to settle naturally before spring arrives. By the time new fronds begin unfurling in warmer weather, the plant is already deeply rooted and prepared for vigorous growth. Ferns perform especially well in shaded areas, making them excellent choices for woodland gardens, shady borders beneath trees, or tucked into cool corners of the landscape. They prefer soil that stays consistently moist but drains well, especially when enriched with compost or other organic material. Winter conditions naturally help maintain the cool, evenly moist soil that ferns love, allowing roots to establish without stress. Another benefit of planting ferns in December is protection from environmental strain. Because the foliage is dormant, the plant experiences far less stress from freezing temperatures, harsh winds, or frost exposure. A light layer of mulch around the base helps insulate the roots, regulate soil temperature, and maintain moisture throughout the colder months. By spring, winter-planted ferns are often much stronger and more balanced than those planted later. Early root establishment leads to fuller foliage, healthier fronds, and improved resilience against weather fluctuations. Instead of struggling to adapt during active growth, the plant enters the season already established. Ferns bring softness, texture, and a timeless woodland atmosphere into the garden. Giving them a peaceful winter start allows them to develop naturally into graceful, dependable plants that return year after year with even greater beauty. 7. Hostas. When winter arrives, hostas seem to disappear completely, leaving nothing but bare ground behind. But beneath the soil, the plant is still alive, slowly preparing for the next season. Because of this dormancy, December is actually one of the best times to plant hostas. During winter, hostas have no active foliage to maintain, which means transplanting causes very little stress. Instead of using energy for leaves and top growth, the plant directs its resources entirely into root development. This extended period of underground growth gives winter-planted hostas a major advantage once spring arrives. Planting hostas in December allows their roots to settle deeply into the soil over several quiet months, rather than rushing to establish during the rapid growth of spring. As a result, these plants often emerge earlier, produce fuller clumps, and develop larger, healthier leaves compared to hostas planted later in the season. Hostas thrive in rich soil filled with organic matter that retains moisture without becoming waterlogged. They grow best in partial or full shade, making them perfect for areas beneath trees, beside shaded walls, or in woodland-style gardens. While they appreciate steady moisture, proper drainage remains important to protect roots from winter rot. Correct planting depth also matters. The crown should sit just beneath the soil surface and be lightly covered with soil and mulch. Mulching helps prevent frost heaving, stabilizes soil temperature, and conserves moisture while protecting the roots during cold weather. One of the biggest benefits of winter planting is reduced transplant shock. By spring, hostas planted in December are already comfortable and established, allowing them to focus entirely on producing lush foliage and strong stems. Hostas are also incredibly long-lived plants. Given the right conditions, they can thrive for decades and become larger and more impressive every year. A quiet winter planting period gives them the calm, uninterrupted beginning they need to develop into spectacular mature plants. 8. Daylilies. Daylilies are well known for being dependable, adaptable, and extremely resilient, and planting them in December only strengthens those qualities. These hardy perennials tolerate cold weather with ease and adapt very well to winter soil conditions. When planted during December, daylilies devote all their energy to building extensive root systems beneath the surface. Because they are not actively producing leaves or flowers during winter, the plant can focus entirely on root establishment. This creates healthier plants, sturdier stems, and more abundant flowering once the growing season begins. Daylilies bloom best in full sun, though they can also tolerate light shade. They prefer reasonably well-draining soil but are highly adaptable once established. Winter planting allows the roots to slowly expand through cool, moist soil without the stress of summer heat or active growth demands. Spacing is important because daylilies naturally spread and form larger clumps over time. Giving them enough room during planting helps prevent overcrowding later. After planting, watering thoroughly and applying mulch helps protect new roots from sudden temperature changes while also conserving moisture. One major advantage of planting daylilies in December is earlier flowering the following season. Because the roots are already established by spring, the plants often bloom sooner and perform more vigorously than newly planted spring specimens. Their stronger root systems also improve drought tolerance during hot summer months. Daylilies are a perfect example of how patience in winter gardening pays off later. Even while the garden appears dormant, these plants are quietly preparing themselves for rapid growth and colorful blooms. Planting them in December creates stronger, healthier plants and contributes to a more resilient and reliable garden overall.